Hello and welcome to this first video in a series exploring the idea of critical thinking. Critical thinking is something that is at the absolute heart of university study, and developing strong critical thinking skills and demonstrating those strong critical thinking skills in your work is how you both develop and demonstrate a high distinction mindset. Because this is the first video in this series, I do want to take a moment to acknowledge that I am on Kaurna land. It is land that was never ceded, and I want to pay my respects to the traditional owners of the land, past, present and emerging. So, critical thinking. I tell you that thinking critically is incredibly important. I also tell you that it can be very challenging. Why is that? What is critical thinking? There are a number of very formal definitions that we can look at in relation to critical thinking, but at the heart, it is staying conscious of our thinking. It's thinking about our thinking. Why would we need to think about our thinking? I want you to think about something that you believe in strongly, an opinion that you hold dear and that you believe in strongly. And I want you to think about why it is you hold that opinion and why you do hold it so dear. All of us like to think that the views we hold, the opinions that we hold, that we've based them on years of rational, logical thinking, exploring evidence, weighing debate, etc., coming to this most reasonable conclusion that we've come to on whatever particular issue it is. Unfortunately, for all of us, that is not necessarily the case. Quite often, we don't spend enough time realising that a lot of our thinking can be based on any number of different factors that don't relate to being rational, being logic, and exploring evidence. Quite often we are prone to errors in our thinking. We are prone to different types of biases, cognitive biases that we're not aware of. So at its heart, critical thinking is about staying conscious of our thinking. But what does that look like? What does that mean, say, here at university? I want you to think about the idea of argument. If people were arguing, you're having an argument, what does that look like? An argument between friends might get quite aggressive. An argument that you have with your family might get quite heated. I want you to think about the way that squabbling children argue all the time over the silliest things. They use no logic at all. Same description applies here. Let's move on. When you're at university, an argument is something quite different. An argument is a claim plus evidence. An argument at university is a claim that you want to put forward and the evidence needed to support it. Because unlike an argument that you might have with your family or with your friends or with Donald Trump, here at university, an argument is a claim plus evidence, and evidence matters here. That's what's important. When we think about critical thinking, when we think about it in an academic context, it's the capacity to understand and evaluate the work of important researchers in a field. You'll be reading an awful lot of academic literature. You need to be able to understand it, to evaluate it, and to critically analyse it. And once you've done that, demonstrating your strong critical thinking skills, it's the capacity to reason positively in an academic environment. It's the ability to have an argument that doesn't involve raising our voices, or screaming the loudest, stamping our feet the most. It means putting forward a reasonable claim and supporting it with really credible, verifiable evidence. So there are two sides of critical thinking at university. The first relates to all of the reading that we do, or the information that we consume, reviewing the literature or the work and research of others. When we do that, we're identifying and analysing the arguments that others put forward. We're evaluating their logic. We're evaluating the evidence they use to support the claims that they're making. And we're critiquing and evaluating their arguments to determine, well, the claims that they make, how strong are they? How weak are they? How convincing are they? We do the same process when we look at the other side of critical thinking, the second side of it in this academic context, and that's when we are doing our own research or writing our own assignments. In that instance, we're making our own claims. We're presenting strong arguments, clear claims with evidence to support them. Think about any issue you can. There's very rarely one side to it. Most issues, most topics, most things that we look at, there's debate. So we acknowledge that. We acknowledge that we might be making a claim one way, but we acknowledge that others do hold another view. We might use evidence to refute that view in order to further support the claim that we want to make. We acknowledge our own limitations, the limitations of research that we've encountered and research that we've done ourselves. And by doing all of this, we are contributing to knowledge. Where to from here in relation to critical thinking? I want you to think about exploring the other videos in this series that will look at what counts as evidence, how it is you can analyse the arguments of other people. What's the difference between criticising and critiquing? And that's a really important thing to think about, particularly when you start your studies. So I thank you for taking the time to watch this video, and I hope you explore the other videos in this series. Thank you.